November 8, Uniform America X-ray.
Roger, Roger, sir. And what's the name there?
My name here is Mark, Jim. I've spoken to you before. The last time I talked to you, I had a 756 Pro. I've got a 7610 now. I want to make sure it sounds all right.
Roger, Roger. Well, I was just copying the mail on that when you first came in, and you have a very nice frequency response on your audio. Why don't you give me about 10 seconds of what your antenna system is, Roger?
Okay, anything to occupy the time if we record something. It's a 4080 and 160 dipole, and about 35 feet sloping down. And I do have an SB220, as you do. Heard that conversation earlier. To the filament being a cold solder joint. That was interesting. It was good information too, since I got an SB220 here. And SB220, the antenna. And you know what the radio is? I have the same audio shaping I had on the 756 Pro in advance of the audio input. I'm going through the front of the radio. There you go, Jim.
Oh, Roger, yeah, I'm looking at our audio on a spectrum analyzer, and you're very broad across the spectrum, so that's a good thing. Now, I was just listening, and it's kind of an unusual situation. It sounded like your power amp was shutting off and then coming back on as the audio started, as the first words started to come up. I mean, well, you know, seemed like it was turning on at like maybe a -10 audio level. It would, you know, you could actually hear it actually start to work. I don't know if you might be familiar with that or not.
I do have a gate on this.
Well, that's it then.
Yeah, I've been told that too, that the gate has to got to go out. I've also got you on. I hear that my signal's in PA also. I had that's on in the background. I can hear a little bit of scratch back there. I turned it down so it doesn't interfere. That I find it very difficult to carry on a conversation when the audio is coming in a different source, or you hear yourself. It's like singing in a stadium.
Oh yeah, yeah. You get an eighth of a second or quarter second delay, and you become mush. It's impossible to speak when you have a return delayed a quarter of a second. Your mind just bogs down. Maybe you get 3 words out, and then it's gibberish after that. Roger.
Roger, Jim. Yeah, I had listened to you before. You talked about someone else that had a 7610. You said set the mic drive at 60.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That 7610 is such a nice radio. You follow the normal procedure, and we recommend 3 out of 10 on the compressor gain, or 30 out of 100. 30% activity on the compressor, and then mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC reading, and then on your case with a 7610, quick to drive, and drive usually starts is preset at about a 50. So if you advance that to a 60, you will move your dynamic range from a 3 to a 2.5. Now at a 3, your average percent of peak modulation would be between 80 and 85%. So when you move that drive up to 10, up 10 from 50 to 60, then your average peak modulation will probably be about 90%. Somewhere right in there, so you have a really fat signal, Roger. And I'm assuming you've done that.
Yeah, I've moved the drive. I've moved the drive up to 60%. I just switched it on compression, and compression might hit +10. It doesn't go any higher than that. It generally stays in the blue, which is let's see, compression. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Let me take that back. The compression runs at 15 to a little bit above 15 if I crowd the mic.
Yeah, main thing though is after you the last thing you do, always go back to your ALC to verify that you're running mid-scale to 2/3, because you bring in a compressor, a change of compression levels, ratios, or you do EQ, extensive EQ. That's going to shift the level coming up on your ALC. So whenever you do a modification or a change, particularly like when you change microphones or something like that, always go back to the ALC just to verify that you're running mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, well, let's see what it is. It runs to the end of ALC.
All right, so you might want to bring your mic level back just a little bit to where you're running mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC. I don't suggest anything higher than 2/3, Roger.
Okay, so you want me to come off the mic gain. You want this to come off 60% and come down to 50.
Whatever. No, on your mic gain only. That's, you adjust your mic gain to facilitate the reading on the ALC. Mic gain is how you adjust your ALC. So I'm assuming you have your compressor in there at a 3, and you have your EQ set up, and then so the last thing is with the mic gain in hand, to go to your ALC and adjust that from mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, right now it's showing it's on the bar, and at 50%, it runs the full length of the bar. I don't have the other scale, and I've got to figure out how to go to the analog scale, which I can see the little red ALC in it. Right now I'm looking at the bar graph, and I'm making it to the end, and I just moved it to 50%.
Yes, your ALC, that's what you want to run, your ALC mid-scale to 2/3. Don't worry about the output. Just look at your ALC and adjust your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, I've got to move this thing out of this scope setting and get the other scope setting in here. Okay, I've got that. It's running to the end of the ALC, so that's too hot, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. So back your mic gain down. What is your mic gain currently?
Mic gain is at 50%.
Bring it to 45 and see where your ALC is at that point.
Okay, it's 45. We're still making it to the end.
40 then. Bring it to 40.
Okay, that's 40. It came down a little bit, but it's still almost at the end again.
You're sure you're looking at, you have ALC, and then you have the bar that represents the ALC reading, and you're reading the right bar. Roger?
Yeah, I've got the meter set for ALC, and it's the last thing on the bottom of the meter. It's a red ALC area, and it's making it to the end of the red. And, of course, above that is SWR, power out, and, of course, temperature and S unit.
Roger that. Well, you may have to back off on your drive, because you don't want to be up against the wall. You want to try to keep that at about 3/4, mid-scale to 2/3, somewhere in there. But you don't want to be, right up against the wall.
Okay, I moved it down to 30%. It still makes it to the end, almost. And I'm not on the microphone either. I'm a bit off it. I've got I'm not showing that the equalizer is overdriving it. Just barely tapping the red light on that occasionally.
Yeah, pull your compressor off. Let's see what happens with the compressor off.
Okay, compressor off. It made a difference.
And what are you reading now?
We're about 3/4 of the scale.
Okay. Now you still have your drive on?
The drive's at 30%.
Okay, take your drive on up to 50%.
Okay. That's been twisted. That's still, it's not hitting the end, but it's almost.
Okay, still towards, harder than 3/4 or 2/3?
Yeah, a little bit harder than 3/4.
Oh, Roger. Well, the main thing is to stay out of the red. I mean, we can sit here and split hairs, but be sure and stay out of the red, Roger.
Okay, well, it's tapping the end of the scale, but it's not going beyond it. It's within the ALC range, okay? It's within the ALC range. That's all I can tell you. And then, of course, there's a compression figure there, but it's not on, so I don't have to worry about that. I probably, with the compression in, maybe I'm confusing it with compression. Let me turn the compression back on, okay, Jim?
Roger.
Okay, compressor's back on. Yeah, it doesn't make, it drives a little, I can see it's a little harder, but that's with the compression on.
Right. Well, you may be safer operating with the compression on because at least that will stabilize your peaks. The compressor does stabilize the peaks somewhat as opposed to not running it. So maybe you would be better off running that compressor to keep that level from having excursions in, further, ballistically further.
Okay, yeah, the compression's on wide also, and I try to stay with, I try not to yell, I try to stay with the mic a little bit. But okay, Jim, I guess I could listen to it on air later on. I've done this before. I'm familiar with it, and that's why I actually had it on dual watch. Love the radio, really nice. I had it on dual watch. I was waiting for you to start the net.
Roger that. Well, like I say, we're normally on Fridays, but I've got commitments tomorrow at this time, so we just ran it a day early. So anyway, your audio spectrum, it looks really nice, EQ-wise. Got some bottom, got some top. The thing about it is, if you get a strong bottom, audio-wise, you need to have a strong top to keep it balanced. So that means that you must stay on axis, particularly with your drive accelerated on up there, because the drive will try to keep your modulation fat, and if you don't stay on mic, it will continue to try to keep your audio level up, and so if you don't have articulation going into that mic, it's going to pull the bottom end up, so you're going to sound muddy. So you need to stay articulated on that mic. Roger.
Okay, Jim. Something else I can do too is I can turn down the drive a bit, because I do see the red light flash now and then, and that would means it's a little hot. I can turn that back a touch so that does not overdrive the front end of the radio, and then I'll let the radio take over from that.
Roger that. Yes, I would do that. I would stay out of the red at all costs.
Okay. There are more folks that want to get in here, Jim. I enjoy chatting with you, and I appreciate your help. I really do, because I can't really say I'm a novice, but you don't always hear the radio, and it's always good to have a qualified ear, and you definitely have that. So, thank you very much. If there's anything else, let me know. If not, I will let you clear with me, MARK-N8UAX.
Roger. Mark, what is your location?
North Carolina. I'm going directly to you probably. You got a 5.9 signal here.
Oh, yeah. I'm copying you on my dipole antenna. Excuse me. So, threes, Mark, thanks for checking in. And hold on just a moment. I think I swallowed a fish or something. Anyway, thanks for checking in, Mark. And if you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. KC9VKV on a YouTube search. And then the program we're looking for is My Group Aircheck 2 2020. Roger?
Yeah, I've done it before. And I'm about 500 watts out, by the way. I've done it before, and I'll look it up and do it. Let's do it again. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn the drive down on the thing straight away here.
Roger, and give us a couple of days to post it up. This is KC9VKV. It's about 13 minutes before 5, and obviously at 5 we turn into a pumpkin. So if you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.